Hi everybody, hope you're all doing well. I've got some more English for you this week. In fact, I have a pretty complex matter for you for this week and the next. Pretty much the last thing you'll be asked to do for English for this year. And it combines just about everything that you've been dealing with these last weeks. That's why it's a complex task, right? It has the courtroom vocabulary that you studied. There's the Roald Dahl story, of course, Lamb to the Slaughter. V for Vendetta even makes a short comeback. There's writing involved, there's speaking involved, and you will have to show me that you understood the whole complex sentence grammar item that you studied last week and the week before that, and you'll have to bring it into play as well. So, highly complex, a real challenge, the closest we get people to an exam this year. So, what's it all about, right? Now, I've already told you that we would be returning to Roald Dahl's story Lamb to the Slaughter with its husband-killing protagonist Mary Maloney. Now, for the sake of this task, let's imagine that the story, instead of stopping at the point where Mary Maloney begins to laugh, actually goes on for just a bit longer. Let's imagine that because of that laugh, the detectives get suspicious, or even suddenly realize the whole truth, and they question her. She confesses, she gets arrested. Okay, that's what we imagine. It's not what Roald Dahl wrote, but it's what we imagine. Now we jump forward in time for a bit, a couple of months later, and we are now, there we are, at the trial of Mary Maloney. So we're in a courtroom, there's a judge, there's a jury, and the defendant, Mary Maloney, standing accused. Now you, people, you have been appointed as her defense lawyer. That means that you are going to have to convince the jury that even though this woman killed her husband and confessed to it, that she should not go to prison and in fact should be acquitted. There we are, acquittal, vrijspraak. Now, obviously, we are not going to reenact the whole trial with witness interviews and cross-examinations and all that. Instead, we move on straight to what is one of the very last but very, very important stages of a murder trial. The very last thing, in fact, that happens before the jury is sent to the jury room to decide whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty. And that last stage, people, is called the closing argument, also called the closing speech of both lawyers, the one for the defense, you, and the one for the prosecution. In Dutch, we call this, you might have heard the word, een slotpleidooi. It's a short speech in which you, as a lawyer, addresses the jury one final time. So one last chance to convince the jury that your client is not guilty and should therefore be acquitted. You can imagine, of course, how important this little speech is. It can actually make the difference, so to speak, between life or death. And it is no wonder, therefore, that lawyers want this closing argument to come out just right, to be convincing, to be persuasive, overtuigend, to have the maximum effect on the jury. It is therefore a highly polished text in which every word is meant to persuade, to convince, to impress. Okay? That's the sort of text that you are going to write and also deliver in a video file as well. Now, how are we going to do that? First of all, you will have a look at a few closing arguments that we've taken from movies. There's To Kill a Mockingbird, The Scent of a Woman. You find the extracts in the Smart School file documents, week 9, week 10, whatever. You'll know where to find them. Just watch the extracts, notice how the lawyers, as it were, play the jury. Notice how they use rhetorical questions, dramatic voice effects, pauses, strong vocabulary, etc. All with the one single purpose of convincing the jury, of making the most intense possible impression on the minds of these people. I would also, furthermore, advise you to watch V's speech from V for Vendetta once more, because that's an excellent example of a persuasive speech. Okay, now, at least you know what sort of text you'll have to write and speak, why it has to be powerful, and how you can make it powerful. Okay? Now, what is the actual message that you're going to have to deliver? Pay close attention now. This is major, right? There is a way, and I'm talking an actual, real-life possible way to get the jury to pronounce Mrs. Maloney not guilty. Okay? It's a way that is used by Belgian defense lawyers too. In fact, one of our most famous defense lawyers, Jeff Vermassen is the man's name, managed to get a woman acquitted, a woman who had, just like Mary Maloney, killed her husband. That way out, you could say, is the principle of, here we are, temporary insanity. In Dutch, tijdelijke ontoerekeningsvatbaarheid. This, people, is the key to your closing argument. Okay? What does it mean, though? It means that at the time of the murder, Mary Maloney was temporarily insane, was not herself, was not conscious, did not know what she was doing. And therefore, you could argue that she was not responsible for her actions, and therefore she should not go to prison. Once again, this is a valid argument that is used in courtrooms, in reality, around the world. And that is the argument you will have to use as well. Yeah? So to anticipate your frequently asked question, can we say that there's actually no proof of her crime and thus get her acquitted? No. Can we say that it was an accident or something? No. Can we say that she was abducted by aliens and the aliens killed her husband, etc.? No. What you have to do is convince the jury that Mary Maloney was not herself at the time of the murder, that she was temporarily insane, not responsible, sorry for the typo there, and should be acquitted. That's what you need to do. Now, everything you got to do from here on is in the worksheet for this week. Hopefully nice and clear. You'll find it under Smart School Documents week 9 or week 10, depending. So you'll find it all there. Just a few more main points before I leave you to it. Your text should have 5 paragraphs, right? The first one being an introduction, something like ladies and gentlemen of the jury, etc. Okay. Your second paragraph is actually your first argument, and that, you'll find it in the worksheet as well, should be centered around how Mary loved her husband, how she doted on him, how she couldn't live without him. Being pregnant and all, of course, it's also important. The second argument is your third paragraph. There you could argue, you can tell the jury how cruelly she was treated by her husband when he comes home and tells her whatever he tells you. You can obviously feel free to add a little bit here, how he cheated on her, or how he was going to leave her for a secretary of 20 years old, whatever. Okay. Your fourth paragraph is your third argument, in which you argue how Mary Maloney wasn't herself at the time and just before and during the murder. And your fifth paragraph, that's your conclusion. Okay, pay attention to your vocabulary. Try to avoid boring, neutral words. Instead, use well-chosen, strong vocabulary to have the, once again, maximum effect on the jury. Make sure that you develop your arguments logically. The jury has to be able to follow you before they can agree with you, okay? There are quite a number of grammatical issues here. You'll have to use relative clauses, you'll have to use participial clauses, you'll have to use linkers. It's all detailed in the worksheet, very important. And when it comes to delivering your argument, speaking it, or you can record yourself while you deliver it, speak convincingly. Use all the tips and tricks that you've seen. Use rhetorical questions, use dramatic pauses, loud voice, quiet voice, etc. That's pretty much it. One more practical thing. The deadline is the 8th of June, or for the French classes, it's the week after that. So that's the 15th of June. Okay, that's it, people. Good luck and all the best. Bye-bye.